All right. Thank you, Ms. Franks.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness, please?
Yes, please.
Ma'am, I now show you what's been marked State's Exhibit number 34. You take a moment, see if you can identify that item.
State's Exhibit 34 is a blade that was submitted.
And what, if anything, did you do with that item?
As I said previously, I would have taken the item out and done that screening test for the presence of blood. And State's Exhibit number 34, the blade, was negative for that screening test. It failed to give chemical indications for the presence of blood.
And did you receive item 34 in a sealed condition?
Yes.
And what did you do with it after you examined it?
State's Exhibit 34, I placed back in the plastic container, sealed it back up, and it stayed within the laboratory to be transferred to another section for analysis.
Approach the witness, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
Show you what's been marked State's Exhibit number 35. If you take a moment, see if you can identify that item.
State's Exhibit 35 is a knife that was submitted.
And what did your examination reveal on that item?
State's Exhibit 35, the knife failed to give chemical indications for the presence of blood. It was negative for the screening test.
And again, did you receive that item in a sealed condition?
Yes, I did.
And what did you do with it?
Again, I put it back within this plastic container, sealed it back up, and it stayed within the laboratory to go to another section for testing.
Approach the witness, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
Show you what's been marked State's Exhibit number 36. If you take a moment, see if you can identify that item.
State's Exhibit 36 is a knife that was submitted.
And what did your examination reveal on that item?
State's Exhibit 36, the knife failed to give chemical indications for the presence of blood. It was negative for that screening test.
And did you receive that item in a sealed condition?
Yes, I did.
And what did you do with it once you completed your analysis?
Again, I put it back within this plastic container, sealed it back up, and it stayed within the laboratory to go to another section for analysis.
Can I approach the witness, Your Honor? I'll show you what's been marked State's Exhibit number 37. If you take a moment, see if you can identify that.
State's Exhibit number 37 is the clothing from Reginald Day.
And did you do an examination on those items?
I did not examine State's Exhibit 37.
And did you receive it in a sealed condition?
Yes, I did.
And what did you do with it?
State's Exhibit 37, the clothing from Reginald Day, just went back to the submitting agency. It was not examined in the laboratory.
Did you pass it on to another division to examine in any way?
No, it simply went back to our evidence custodian to be returned to the agency.
And was it in a sealed condition at that time?
Yes.
Can I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
I Now I'll show you what's been marked State's Exhibit number 38. If you take a moment, see if you can identify that.
State's Exhibit 38 is the clothing from Crystal Mangum that was submitted.
And what, if anything, did you do with that particular item?
I opened up the bag, and within the bag, can I look at my notes real quick?
Yes, please.
Within the bag for State's Exhibit 38 was a top or shirt, a camisole, a pair of jeans, a pair of shoes, and an earring. I went through and did that screening test for blood on all of the items within the bag. The results were the top or shirt and the camisole gave chemical indications for the presence of blood. They were positive for that screening test. The pair of jeans, pair of shoes, and the earring failed to give chemical indications for the presence of blood. They were negative for that screening test.
And what did you do with those particular items after you examined them?
During my examination, I took pictures to document, and then from the top or shirt, I took a cutting from the stain that gave chemical indications for the presence of blood, and that stain I then packaged in a separate envelope, and it was submitted for DNA analysis.
And what did you do with State's Exhibit 38 once you finished your analysis?
Aside from that cutting that I took that went on for DNA, the actual items of clothing were placed back in this bag, I sealed it up, and then they were also returned to the submitting agency.
And the cutting that you took, you labeled it 20-1?
Yes.
If you would, please, if I'm going to approach the witness again.
Yes, ma'am.
If you would check in State's Exhibit 24 and see if 20-1 is inside that exhibit.
It is.
And how are you able to recognize it?
Again, it has the sticker that we use within the laboratory that has the case and item number, as well as the notes that I took describing what it is and my initials and the date.
If you would place that back in that exhibit and approach the witness again.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, I show you what has previously been marked State's Exhibits 17 and 18. If you'll begin with State's Exhibit 17, see if you can identify that.
State's Exhibit 17 is a buccal swab or a cheek scraping, and these are used as known standards for DNA, and it is the buccal swab from Crystal Mangum.
And a sealed condition when you received it?
Yes, it was.
And what, if anything, did you do with that item?
Because this is a known standard that's going to be used for DNA analysis, I don't do any examination on it. I simply accept the item with the rest of the evidence and initial and date it to show that I took possession of it, and then I just send it on with the rest of the evidence for DNA analysis.
And State's Exhibit number 18, if you could see if you could identify that.
The State's Exhibit 18 is a buccal swab from Reginald Day.
And did you receive that in a sealed condition?
Yes, I did.
And did you do the same with that item as you did with item number 17?
Yes.
And approach the witness again, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
I show you you what's been marked State's Exhibit number 39. If you take a moment, see if you can recognize that.
State's Exhibit 39 has two items within it, and these are a swab taken from the exterior ground and a swab from the exterior railing, and both of those items are within State's Exhibit 39.
And did you receive those in a sealed condition?
Yes, I did.
And what did you do with State's Exhibit 39?
I would have taken them both out and done that screening test for the presence of blood, and both of the items contained within gave chemical indications for the presence of blood, so they were positive for that screening test.
And what did you do with those items?
Placed both items back within this manila envelope, sealed it up, and they were transferred for DNA analysis.
And earlier you said you had taken pictures of State's Exhibit number 38. Did you take pictures of any other item other than the defendant's clothing?
Yes, do you want me to look up the exhibit number?
Would it have been exhibit number 22 or 23?
For State's Exhibit number 23, which was the knife that I spoke about previously that gave chemical indications for the presence of blood that it took swabbings from, excuse me, I did take pictures of that item, or a picture of that item as well.
Can I approach the witness, Sean?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, I'll show you State's Exhibits number 40, 41, and 42. If you would take a moment, see if you can identify those as a group.
State's Exhibit number 40 is a copy of the picture that I took of the camisole that was within the bag of clothing from Ms. Mangum. It's a picture that I took of the front and the back, and then I add identifying characteristics to it.
What type of identifying characteristics did you add to that photo?
I'll add the item and case number that's kept within the laboratory, as well as the date and my initials. These are just added in Photoshop as text. And then the areas that were stained on the camisole that I tested and gave chemical indications for the presence of blood, those are indicated on here.
All right, State's Exhibit 41.
State's Exhibit 41 is a picture of the top or shirt that was within the bag of clothing from Ms. Mangum, and it has the same type of notations as the previous one, as well as an indication of where a cutting was taken to be transferred for DNA analysis.
And item number 42.
State's Exhibit 42 is a picture of the knife that we just spoke about, and again has the same type of notations.
And does items 40, 41, and 42 appear in the same condition as when you took those pictures and made those indications on the photo?
Yes.
And have they been altered in any way other than what you've already spoken of?
No.
And were you able to issue a written report on all of your examinations and findings?
Yes, I was.
I may approach the witness, Ma'am, I'll show you what's been marked State's Exhibit number 43. If you take a moment, see if you can identify that item.
This is a copy of the laboratory report that I generated at the end of my examination.
And other than the exhibit sticker, has it been altered or changed in any way?
There's an addition of a page number that's not included on my original, but other than that, it's in the same condition.
Thank you. Your Honor, the state would move to enter into evidence states exhibits 40, 41, 42, and 43.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right, those are allowed.
Your Honor, I would ask that 40, 41, and 42 be published to the jury, and 43, I have copies for each member of the jury.
All right. That'll be fine. You want the bailiff to pass those out? Is that your preferred method? All right, bailiff, if you will collect all of those, pass the members of the jury, if you'll pass the photographs among yourselves, and each of you can retain a copy of Exhibit 43. But recall, please don't write on that exhibit. That exhibit will be taken up at some later point, so if you do have any notes, just make sure you take them in your notebooks, please.
Okay, please, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am. Well, you need the jurors to refer to this at a later point.
No, Your Honor.
That's fine. So when you're through, if you'll look up so the bailiff knows that you've completed your review of this evidence, and you'll collect it from you. Brown?
Thank you. Ms. Poston, I just want to clarify, all the items that we discussed, were they all in a sealed condition when you received them?
Yes.
And did they all leave you in a sealed condition?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Meyer?
Nothing, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, ma'am. You may step down.
Your Honor, the state would ask that Ms. Poston be released so she can return to the business.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Ma'am, you're released from your subpoena. You're free to go. Further evidence for the state?
Yes, Your Honor, the state would call Tanisha Walker.
You solemnly the testimony you may give before the case now being heard shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Ms. Franks?
Ma'am, would you please state your name and spell it for the court reporter?
Tanisha Walker, spelled Tanisha, Walker, Walker.
And how are you employed, ma'am?
I'm employed with the North Carolina State Laboratory as a forensic scientist.
Would you please explain to the jury exactly what a forensic scientist is?
As a forensic scientist, I conduct DNA analysis, which means I analyze evidentiary samples from a crime scene as well as reference samples, which would include samples from a victim, suspect, or elimination standards. I make comparisons between those samples and I issue in a report.
And what type of educational background do you have, ma'am?
I have a Bachelor's of Science in Biological Sciences from North Carolina State University. I began my employment with the crime lab in 2006 in the capacity of a DNA database analyst. I was in that position for a couple of years before I began DNA casework training. That training consisted of analyzing numerous samples that simulated evidence that I might receive within an actual case, single source and mixture samples. Upon completion of my training, I was given a competency test in which I scored 100%. Following that, I worked cases underneath a senior analyst before receiving cases on my own.
And have you ever testified in court before and given opinions as an expert witness based on your experience and training in forensic biology? Forensics.
Yes, I have.
And how many times?
Approximately 5.
Would you please explain to the jury exactly what is DNA?
DNA is a chemical found in the cells throughout your body. It provides genetic information such as your physical characteristics as well as tells your body how to function. Your DNA is the same in your skin cells, your saliva cells, and your blood cells or hair cells. As well, your DNA comes half from your biological mother and father. Everyone's DNA is unique with the exception of identical twins. And your DNA is the same at the time of conception throughout your lifespan till the time of death.
Your Honor, the state would tender the witness to the court as a forensic DNA analysis expert.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right, her testimony will be received as proffered.
And why does the North Carolina State Laboratory do a DNA analysis?
We conduct DNA analysis because it's a way to show, an unbiased way to show variability between individuals.
And what are the procedures that, or basic procedures that are used in conducting DNA analysis?
Okay. When I receive the samples that are submitted to the lab, I process the evidentiary samples from the crime scene separately from the known samples, again, from the victim, suspect, or elimination standards. What I do, the First step I do is called an extraction. This process, I add chemicals to the sample to remove the DNA, similar to adding detergent to a stain on your clothing. At the end of that process, I have the DNA within a liquid form. After that, I proceed with a procedure called quantitation. This procedure will tell me how much DNA is in that specific sample in order to proceed to the next step. The next step is amplification, in which I'm going to make millions and millions of copies of the DNA that I'm targeting. From there, the sample is subjected to capillary electrophoresis. This instrument is going to separate out the DNA by charge and size. The data is going to be computed into a visual representation of an individual's or whatever sample I process. It's going to give me a profile, and I'm going to analyze that profile and make comparisons.
And when you say a profile, what does the profile consist of?
Well, that's going to depend on what type of sample. For example, our reference samples, they are collected from one individual, and they are obtained in order to make comparisons to the evidentiary samples, which means I would expect, if I took a cheek swabbing from myself, that I'm going to have a single source profile.
Did you have an occasion to examine items submitted from an incident that occurred in Durham, April 3rd, 2011, with a victim as Reginald Day?
Yes, I did.
And did you perform this DNA analysis on those items?
I did.
May I approach the witness, Sean?
Yes.
I'll show you what's been marked State's Exhibit number 21. Can you identify that item?
Yes, State's Exhibit item number 21 is a swab of a red stain from the couch, our agency item number 1, and I can identify that by my initials as well as the unique laboratory identifier case number.
Now, did you perform any type of analysis on that particular item?
Yes, I did.
And what type of analysis did you perform on that?
DNA analysis.
And what were your results, if any?
From item number 1, I obtained a partial DNA profile that matched the DNA profile obtained from Reginald Day and did not match the DNA profile obtained from Crystal Mangum.
And when you say the DNA profile obtained from Reginald Day, would you look at State's Exhibit number 17 and 18? And see
The actual packaging of that?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. And see if you can identify those items.
Yes, I can.
And what is item number 17?
Item number 17, which is our lab, item number 21, is a buccal swab from Crystal Mangum.
And item number 18?
Item number 18 is our lab, item number 22, and that is a buccal swab from Reginald Day.
And items 17, 18, and 21, were they in a sealed condition when you received them?
Yes, they were.
Now, you said you got a match to the profile of Reginald Day. Was that a profile you got from his buccal swab, which is item 18?
Yes.
And when you say it did not match the profile of Crystal Mangum, would that be the profile that you were able to get from item number 17?
Yes.
And when you say partial profile, would you explain that to the jury?
Partial profile just means we test 16 areas. One of the areas is a sex determining area. It means that I did not receive information at all the locations that we test.
Do you know how many areas that you did obtain in that sample?
If you give me 1 second, I can look and see.
Yes, ma'am.
I received information at every area except for one.
And if you would please look at State's Exhibit number 24 and see if you can identify that item.
Yes, it has some envelopes included in the packaging that have my initials and date as well as the unique case number.
And did you receive those items in a sealed condition?
Yes, I did.
And item number 3-1 and item number 3-2, what, if anything, did you do with those items?
I tested those, as I previously stated, took them through the several steps in order to develop a DNA profile.
And what were your results?
For item 3-1, I obtained a partial DNA profile, and that was from the swabbing from the blade of the knife. It was consistent with the DNA profile obtained from Reginald Day and did not match the DNA profile obtained from Crystal Mangum.
And again, you said a partial profile. How many areas were you able to find on that particular item?
4 total, but one of those was the sex determining area.
And item 3-2?
From item 3-2, I did not obtain a DNA profile.
And what was that item? Was it the handle?
Yes, it was a swabbing from the handle of the knife.
And I believe you said there was also an item in there, 20-1?
Yes.
And what were your results of your test of that item?
Okay. The DNA profile obtained from the cutting from the top is consistent with the mixture. The predominant profile matched the DNA profile obtained from Reginald Day. The DNA profile obtained from Crystal Mangum cannot be excluded as a contributor to the mixture.
And could you explain to the jury what you mean by could not be excluded?
Okay. In this particular instance, I had a mixture, which means it's a sample that contains DNA from more than one individual. In reference to the profile of Crystal Mangum, I could not exclude her from her as being a possible contributor to this genetic profile.
And what do you mean by predominant profile?
A predominant profile, basically what it means is that one person's DNA is in a higher concentration than another person's. If you think of an analogy of a jar that's filled with marbles, blue and green, if you have more blue marbles than green marbles, you would say that those are predominant. They're in a higher concentration.
Thank you, ma'am. And if you would look at State's Exhibit number 25. Did you find State's Exhibit 25? Can you identify
Yes.
that? Sorry.
Yes, I can. Again, I can identify it by my initials, date, and the unique laboratory number.
And what was contained in State's Exhibit 25?
In this item, there's our lab item number 4, which is a swab of a red stain from the kitchen counter. Lab item number 5, a swab of a red stain from the hallway carpet, as well as item number 6, a swab of a red stain from mattress in master bedroom.
And what were the results of your analysis on your item number 4, the swab of the red stain from the kitchen counter?
The DNA profile obtained from the kitchen counter matched the DNA profile obtained from Reginald Day and did not match the DNA profile obtained from Crystal Mangum.
And your item number 5, the red stain from the hallway carpet?
That had the same result. The DNA profile matched the DNA profile of Reginald Day and did not match the DNA profile from Crystal Mangum.
And your item number 6, swab of red stain on the mattress?
No DNA profile was obtained from the mattress.
And what do you mean by that? Can you just explain it to the jury?
That means there was no detection of any type of DNA on that particular item. I didn't develop any profile for the areas that we test.
And if you would look at State's Exhibit number 39. And can you identify that item?
Yes, I can identify it by my initials, date, and the unique laboratory number.
And what, if anything, was contained in State's Exhibit 39?
It's our lab item number 23, which is a stain swabbing from the ground in front of apartment, as well as item 24, stain swabbing from exterior railing of the stairs from 3507 Century Oaks Apartments.
And item number 23, the swabbing from the ground in front of the apartment. What did your analysis, what was the result?
The DNA profile obtained from the swabbing from the front of the apartment matched the DNA profile obtained from Reginald Day and did not match the DNA profile obtained from Crystal Mangum.
And your item 24, the swabbing from the exterior railing of the stairs at Century Oaks Apartment?
That profile also had the same results. It matched the DNA profile of Reginald Day and did not match the DNA profile obtained from Crystal Mangum.
And all of the items that you have discussed here, were they all in a sealed condition when you got them?
Yes, they were.
And when you finished testing the items, what, if anything, did you do?
After testing the items, I sealed packaging and I also put my initials and date on the packaging, and then I will return it to our evidence custodian.
And is it sealed at the time that you do that?
Yes.
Now, did you issue a written report based on your findings you testified about here today?
Yes, I did.
May I approach the witness, Sean?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, I'll show you what's been marked State's Exhibit number 44. If you take a moment to see if you can identify that item.
Yes, this is the laboratory report that states my results from this case.
And other than the red exhibit sticker, has it been altered in any way?
No, it has not.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move to enter into evidence State's Exhibits number 44.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
It's allowed.
We would also ask that it be published, Your Honor, and I have made copies for the jury.
Yes, ma'am.
If I may approach you.
Yes, you'll hand those to the bailiff, please.
further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Meyer, cross-examination.
Yeah, very briefly. Good afternoon,
Good afternoon.
Ms. Walker. Just real quick, back to item 20.1, which I believe was the mixed DNA sample.
Yes.
Since it's mixed, that means you can't tell which contributed, where the DNA came from, correct? So if that was blood, you could not identify whose blood it was.
I can't tell you that the profile actually came from a blood sample. I can try to formulate some type of conclusion as to whether an individual is a possible contributor.
Okay. So in that case, all you know is from that sample, Ms. Mangum and Mr. Day both contributed, or Ms. Mangum is certainly a possible contributor.
Yes.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Ms. Franks.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, ma'am. You may step down.
Your Honor, again, we ask that Agent Walker be released.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Ma'am, you're released from your subpoena. You're free to go. All right, it's a few minutes before 1 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and take our lunch recess until 2:30. So ladies and gentlemen, please recall the instructions. Don't talk among yourselves or with anyone else about this case. Don't form or express any opinions about the outcome. No media or independent investigation regarding these matters, and please have no conversation with parties, witnesses, or lawyers. Be sure to leave your notebooks in your chairs and gather in the deliberation room at 2:30. Thank you all very much for your service. Everyone else, please remain seated while the jurors excuse themselves.